Thank you. Oh, I seem to cry a lot these days. It's a beautiful song, isn't it? But it also reminded me that, you know, we're all going to go through lots of stuff in our life, including a pandemic that seems to never want to get kicked off, you know. But it doesn't matter because the thing of it is that when I look at you, and I haven't seen you in a long time, there's many of you I haven't seen in so long, then it reminds me that this is what matters, you know? That maybe we wouldn't be so moved, maybe if we just kept seeing each other every day. Maybe we wouldn't always be as grateful if we didn't have the contrast, you know? But I'm ready for the contrast to go away. So, in honor of this month, we have been, it's August, so it's right before school starts for a lot of people, or kind of back to the old grind, I guess, summer ending. And so this is a time for a pause for guidance, something to kind of check in with our inner G.P.S. system and see, where are we? How are we navigating? Do we need to do a course correct? Or the recalculating, you know, I don't know. Is yours a British woman? I like my British woman. Recalculating. And so I found that I had to do a lot of recalculating this last year. But in honor of them going back to school and us having this passageway ceremony that we're going to have later, I thought I would share with you a joke. Now, okay, I don't know where Lindsay is, but it's not a pun, I don't think. So Lindsay's like the queen of puns. Okay, but this is just, I think, a joke. So there was a school teacher, this was legitimate, and she had asked her classroom of second graders, who can give me an example of a civil servant? And this little boy raises his hand. He's like, I know. And she's like, okay, what's the example? He goes, I saw a firefighter, and he was climbing down a tree, and he was pregnant. And this teacher goes, he was pregnant? And he's like, yeah. And she goes, what does that word mean to you? And he goes, he was carrying child. And I was like, oh. I must be horrible at my timing, or I just like really stupid jokes. Because I was cracking up. You guys are like, wah, wah, wah. That's okay. I'm no Joel Osteen, that's for sure. But there are a few things that I want to talk about, and maybe it's okay if you don't have children or if your children are adults. I want to talk about this morning, I just want to remind us of a few things that I've been teaching my children over the past year and a half, and that I've been teaching myself, and that I feel, if you want to, it might serve you as well. And these three things are, number one, that we can do hard things. I think we've pretty much learned that. We can do hard things. Number two, don't just talk about it, be about it. Don't just talk about it, be about it. Whatever it is, that's yours. And the third is to stop. And to stop is an acronym, and we'll get to that in a moment. But I want to start with this idea about that we can do hard things. Now, it got popularized, this quote, by a book by Glennon Doyle called Untamed, but it's been around for a while. And the idea that we can do hard things can seem, well, has anyone ever told you that you can do hard things? Did anybody ever say, you know what, I know you can do hard things? Or do people sometimes want to say or think that, oh, well, let's not talk about the hard things, Like let's just spiritually bypass everything, which that it serves its use at some times when we aren't ready to deal with it, but hard things are not bad. They're not they don't mean that we're not doing life right, or that spiritual essence of who we are, that the divine within us isn't speaking through us or to us. It just means that as humans, I was about to cuss, sorry. Okay, it just means that as humans, sometimes the blank hits the fan, things get real, and, it happens. I think it was S word for all of those. So, we can do hard things, and especially we can have hard conversations. And I get to learn that every day with many, many people, and it's so humbling. Have you ever sat there and listened, maybe to your kid, maybe to a coworker, maybe to your inner voice, and it's like, listen, what you were doing and how you were saying this is not okay. Has that happened to any of you? What do you feel like? Give me a word of how it feels. Like yes? Like shoot? What else? What if it felt, what if we could embrace it? This is what I'm learning to do. What if we could embrace it and go, and like you have your belly and you're like, like, because you don't ever really want to hurt anybody, or you don't ever really want to do whatever it is that you have to have a hard conversation for, right? Or do the hard thing about. But if you're willing to stand there and be like, okay, right now I'm on this planet. That means I'm human. So I'm going to be receptive to the idea that I am not perfect all the time. I am perfectly imperfect, but I can do hard things, like listen. It's been a big deal for us in my family. It's been a big deal for us with my friends. It's been a big deal for just changing the way that we're seeing things. And so I want to invite you to think about this. Thomas Edison, you remember the whole idea about how long it took him to figure out electricity in the first place? Like 1,000 failures before he got the one. Well, then it turns out that when he's like 67 and some odd age, and his 10 buildings of his compound burned down. And as it's burning down, his son comes up to him and he goes, Dad, what are we gonna do? And his dad goes, Thomas Edison, he goes, go get your mom and her friends. They're never going to see a fire like this again in their lives. And the son's like, Dad, the son's probably thinking about, I don't know, maybe his inheritance, maybe what are we going to do for money? And the dad's like, no, who cares? He goes, we're just letting go of all that old stuff and we're going to start rebuilding tomorrow. That is a beautiful way to live. It says there are all these material things that we're building and growing and doing, and it might all get knocked off tomorrow. But the place we stand, no matter where we are, is on holy ground. Because in this movement, in this philosophy, in this faith, in this way of life, in the Centers for Spiritual Living, we believe that every single person, everything, every life has the divine within it. And that we know the answers, not to our problems and all of that, but we know truth. It resides right here within us. Or some of us right here, and some of us right here. So we can do hard things. And then we need to not just talk about it, but be about it, right? So let's imagine that we are a village. I don't know if you know this or not, but we are a village. We are a village of humans who come together collectively to, whether you know it or not, even if you're here for yourself, we're here and supporting each other by being here in community. We are here supporting these youth who all of them are magnificent individuals, and they need support because stuff's hard, you know? But if we're not going to just talk about it, we're going to be about it. I want us to comprehend the idea. Seneca, one of the Stoic philosophers, he said, I pity the person who hasn't had their blood been toiled and had the most adversity of all. I pity them because they don't know what it feels like to feel good. They don't know what it feels like to really feel that contrast of life. And so here's this idea that a lot of people are saying, oh, this is the lost year. Have you heard that? It's a lost year. Well, it's about to be lost 2 years if they want to talk about it that way. It's a lost year, and oh, these poor children. These poor children, they've gone through so much, and they have to be on Zoom all day and all this and that. And I want to invite us to kind of shift that perspective to say, wow, have a whole generation of people who are going to be growing up with some resilience. But resilience means that something has to be like skewed in order for it to bend back, right? So things have to get a little crooked, a little upside down and wobbly before they can be resilient. And so maybe this isn't a lost year. Maybe this is one of those special times in history. Now, I know not the pain and suffering that has gone on, but maybe for these generations of people coming up, for us, we are sitting here. If you don't have the confidence to know that you can get through just about anything because you're still alive right now, I invite you to breathe into that. Have the confidence to know that we are living through something that is hard, and we're doing it, okay? And so here it is. Here it is. So we have these children, and they can be, I don't know where you stand with the trophies. Everybody gets a trophy and all that stuff, but that just made the mind of the millennial think that we all deserve as much as, I don't know. It did what it did. But with this new generation, they're now, if we be an example of it, they get to say, you know what? I went through some hard stuff back when I was a teenager, when I was a kid, when I was a young adult, when I was whatever. I can get through anything. It's like the people who went through the Great Depression. You don't hear them talking about their lost years, right? The people who went through World War II. I'm not saying, these are hard things that people went through. But it built a grit. It built this resilience that said, you know what, I can do it. Psh, I grew up with a pandemic. Of course I can do this. And how beautiful that would be to empower them. But we can't just talk about it. We have to be about it. So we have to be the example of it, right? We have to walk our talk, or else it's worth nothing. And so walking our talk sometimes doesn't have to do with walking at all. It could have to do with some spiritual practice. It could have to do with sitting down. It could have to do with being home with our kids or our family members. Not saying that work is more important. There's the acronym that I told you I would share with you. It's about practicing stopping. Practicing stopping. And so stop is silence, time, opportunity, and patience. Presence, sorry. X that out. Silence, time, opportunity, and presence. So let's think about this. Silence. How often do you allow your voice to be silent or your mind to be silent? Pretty much only when I have a podcast on. I'm just kidding. In the morning. I try. Silent. There is that still small voice within us that is awful silent sometimes, but it's always there and it's ready to speak to us and through us. If we give it the time, if we give ourselves the opportunity, then we can maintain that presence about us. And then we're not talking about it, we're being about it. When we stop, when we take the time, let's do that right now. Let's just take a moment and close our eyes. And we close our eyes just so that we can block out any other distractions that are around us. And we're going to be about it right now. We're going to just stop. We're taking the time. For this opportunity to be present. Take a deep breath. Deep, deep breath. Blow it out. And deep breath. In. Blow it out. Just be in that for just a moment. Can you hear the birds chirping? And the fans blowing? And the air moving? We are present. When we are present, you can open your eyes if you'd like. That took us all of 1.5 minutes. We can practice that anywhere at any time. Just stop. Just stop. Take the time to get silent for a moment so we have the opportunity to be present. And this means so much more than I can explain, because when we take this opportunity, it's going to ripple out. We're just going to be. And that's going to affect others. You guys being here affects me deeply. It's your energy and your consciousness and that power that you all exude that enables me the courage and ability and desire to be up here when I don't really like to hear my own self-talk very much. But I love this philosophy, and I love you guys. I love humanity, and I'm committed to the pursuit of awakening humanity to its spiritual magnificence. I am committed to the pursuit of that. And so I just want to ask you, what did I just talk about? What were the 3 points that I made this morning? Anybody want to say the first one? What can we do? Who can? Okay, let's say it together. Now say it like you really believe that you can do. Yes, we can do hard things. We can. Yes. And what else? Be about it. Don't just talk about it, be about it. Say it. Don't just talk about it, be about it. Now say it to yourself like you're like you know what you're talking about. Come on. Yeah, there you go. Don't just talk about it, Nicole. Be about it. Yes. And then what are we going to do? And what does that mean? Yes. Silence, time, opportunity, presence, silence, time, opportunity, presence, silence, time, opportunity, presence. And now let us just stand in this holy ground and pray, okay? Because I know that in this space where we are is the divine. I know that the divine is by means of each and every one of us expressing and expanding itself through us. I know that God, the ineffable, that thing that I cannot describe, the thing itself, it is in and through and as every one of us. We are the ears, we are the arms, we are the eyes, we are the presence of the beloved. I know that there is a divine intelligence within this unified field that carries this unified field, and it brings us together as needed, and it lets us separate as needed, and we expand and contrast and expand and contrast, and I know that it is for a greater and greater and greater good. And so no matter what it is, I declare it good, because in the end, it is. I speak my word of spiritual authority, knowing that we can do hard things because we live in the mind of the divine. Oh, yes, we can. And we do it now. I invite us to take this moment in this day and recognize it as the truth. Recognize it as an opportunity to be about it. In silence, in stillness, in action, in words, no matter what it is. We don't have to let anything tell us what our truth is. Because we stand on holy ground, that which where our feet are planted, no matter where we are, is a sacred space. It is your sanctuary. It is my sanctuary, the space in which we exist. And for this, I am so gloriously grateful for seeing the eyes of the beloved through the eyes that I have not seen in so long. For being able to be with humans, I am so grateful. To hear voices singing, I am so grateful. I say, yes, thank you, more please, divine presence. Yes, thank you, more please. And so it is. And so it is. So it is.